It is 0615 hours over the Gulf of Finland, near the strategically vital Russian port of Ust Luga. A high-intensity, multi-domain engagement is commencing. The central actors? A formation of UJ-26 Beaver unmanned aerial systems operating autonomously, and the integrated air defense network of the Leningrad Oblast. This incident serves as a critical case study in asymmetric warfare, a deep analysis of how low-observable, low-cost aerial platforms challenge and exploit the vulnerabilities of trillion-ruble, high-end surface-to-air missile systems. Our focus is the technical response, the calculated decisions, and the limits of cutting-edge technology when confronted by operational endurance. The initial mission profile for the UJ-26 Beaver squadron was long-range penetration and reconnaissance strike. These aren't hobbyist drones. The UJ-26 is a purpose-built platform constructed primarily from carbon fiber and fiberglass composites. This material composition is key, presenting an extremely low radar cross-section, RCS, often less than 0.1 square meters, effectively rendering them smaller than a large seabird on modern radar displays. The flight path, an approximately 960-kilometer nocturnal transit, was executed at low altitude utilizing terrain contour matching, TERCOM, against preloaded digital elevation models, or DEMs. The air wing's objective was the Ust Luga gas condensate terminal, a critical node in Russia's energy export infrastructure. The first engagement occurred within the Maritime Exclusion Zone. A Russian Project 03160 Raptor-class patrol boat equipped with a pedestal-mounted KPVT 14.5mm heavy machine gun visually acquired the low-flying formation through morning fog. The crew initiated engagement with tracer fire, attempting to create a beaten zone. These short-range interceptors, typically designed to target the high heat signature of helicopter exhaust, utilized their nitrogen-cooled 3 to 5 micron infrared IR seekers against the minuscule 40 degrees Celsius temperature differential of the UJ-26's small piston engine. The drones countered by executing a rapid dispersal and low-level evasion maneuver, utilizing the high-humidity, high-density air just meters above the Baltic waves to degrade the seeker's lock. This action successfully defeated 2 of the 3 man-pads. The third impacted a trailing UAS, causing its structural breakup and loss. The principal conflict began as the surviving 13 platforms closed within 40 kilometers of the coastline, entering the envelope of a deployed S-400 Triumph SAM battery. The S-400's long-range 92 N6E gravestone acquisition radar had been tracking them in a passive, low-power search mode. At the engagement range, the system switched to an active, high-power targeting mode, specifically illuminating the low RCS targets with X-band energy. The S-400 operator, unable to achieve a consistent fire control solution due to the weak return signals, attempted a sophisticated technique, track via missile, or TVM guidance, using the 48 N6DM interceptors. These missiles, designed for high-value, high RCS aerial threats, were launched, intending to use their own active seekers to relay more precise tracking data back to the ground station. However, the UAS formation immediately executed an aggressive wave-top dive to approximately 10 meters above ground level. The high-Mach, aerodynamically controlled 48 N6DM missiles, attempting to follow a rapid, high-angle descent, suffered control surface stall in the dense, low-altitude air, leading to an immediate, uncontrolled pitch down into the water. Recognizing this altitude vulnerability, the S-400 battery switched to the highly agile 9M96E2 interceptor. The 9M96E2 is equipped with gas dynamic thrusters, GDTs, micro-rocket motors that provide lateral steering thrust independent of aerodynamic lift, enabling extreme 60G maneuvers and superior capability against low-altitude threats.
The lead drone's brake turn was swiftly defeated by the 9M96E2's computed intercept. Its subsequent detonation created a significant debris field. This accidental effect, however, provided an unexpected tactical advantage for the remaining survivors. The cloud of carbon composite fragments momentarily generated hundreds of false radar returns, effectively masking the remaining dozen airframes on the S-400's planned position indicator, PPI, display. The surviving UAS scattered, adopting a non-linear high-G flight profile.
The tactical response from the ground crews was pre-planned. 4 Pantsir S-1 close-in weapon systems, CIWS, were activated, forming an interlocking kill box with overlapping engagement zones. The Pantsir S-1 is designed for precisely this contingency, combining the 57E6 short-range radio command-guided missile with the two-way 38M twin 30mm autocannon. Operating under the shoot-look-shoot engagement philosophy to maximize efficiency against low-value targets, the first Pantsir fired a 57E6. The drones instantly executed a tight wagon wheel maneuver, spiraling around a common center point. This rapidly fluctuating aspect angle confused the 57E6's proportional navigation system, forcing the Pantsir operator to switch to the twin 30mm cannons. The gunner abandoned individual targeting and employed an area saturation tactic, creating a dense beaten zone of 30mm high-explosive incendiary rounds. This tactic was effective, destroying 4 more UAS as they transited the airspace. The turning point was the introduction of the Krasuka-4 electronic warfare EW system. As the 9 remaining drones approached the terminal, the Krasuka-4 was activated. This mobile system initiated a barrage jamming protocol, rapidly sweeping and then flooding the 1.2 to 5.8 GHz range with high-power electromagnetic noise. Its objective was to sever the command and control C2 link between the UJ-26's frequency-hopping spread spectrum radio and its remote operator. The UJ-26 was designed to evade sweep and dwell jamming by pseudo-randomly jumping between 128 pre-programmed channels per second. In the digital battle space, information is the only hard currency. The raw power of the Krasuka's barrage jammed the entire spectrum,
forcing the platforms into their ultimate contingency: inertial navigation system, autonomous flight. The drones were now flying solely on their internal gyroscopic and accelerometer data, referencing the preloaded mission coordinates without external guidance or TERCOM updates. While this preserved the attack, it rendered the platforms blind to real-time changes. 3 drones, relying on 6-month-old mapping data, flew directly into an unmapped construction crane, resulting in immediate structural catastrophic failure. The 6 remaining platforms continued their terminal approach, their batteries nearing the operational limit of 18%. The final engagement shifted from missiles to economic reality. The S-400 commander, faced with expending a $2 million missile against a $35,000 platform, ordered a switch to the legacy ZU-23-2 23mm twin anti-aircraft guns. These optically aimed systems, while cheap to operate, require the gunner to achieve a 3-second sustained tracking solution to calculate a firing intersect. The UJ-26 pilots, observing the threat via their Iridium satellite telemetry link, which had limited bandwidth but remained functional for basic flight data, commanded a continuous random barrel roll maneuver. This erratic flight path prevented the ZU-23-2's optical computer from achieving a lock. The gunners resorted to firing blindly into the predicted airspace. Concurrently, the rising morning temperature caused the dense low-deck fog to lift and become an infrared scattering vapor cloud. This severely degraded the Pantsir's thermal imagers, reducing its detection range from 5 kilometers to under 200 meters. The defenders, blinded, initiated area denial fire, saturating the GPS coordinates of the final approach corridors. Furthermore, powerful ground-based GPS spoofing systems were activated.
transmitting counterfeit position signals stronger than the legitimate satellite navigation data. 2 more drones, whose basic civilian GPS receivers were overwhelmed, banked hard following the false coordinates and ditched into the Baltic. The final 3 survivors pressed on, utilizing their resilient inertial navigation systems to disregard the GPS deception. They were met by port security forces armed with IGLA-S manpads, now in an elevated defensive posture. The UJ-26's low heat signature was nearly indistinguishable from the background thermal noise of the warm sea fog. The defenders resorted to ambush fire, targeting the brief moment the drones passed overhead and exposing their strongest heat signature. One final UAS was critically damaged by shrapnel from a proximity detonation. The remaining 2 platforms, now flying on critical 12% battery power, navigated the terminal's 3-dimensional maze of pipes and cryogenic tanks.
They avoided being disabled by high-pressure water cannons, which are designed to kinetically intercept the airframes. The final surviving platform locked its rudimentary thermal camera onto the -163°C signature of the cryogenic processing column. The operator in Ukraine, communicating via the 2 kilobits per second Iridium link, made the switch to manual control, compensating for the 2-second command latency by flying by predictive dead reckoning. The drone's batteries failed completely at the terminal stage, but its residual kinetic energy carried the 40-kilogram airframe, now a ballistic projectile, into the base of the fractionation unit. The successful impact resulted in the immediate detonation of the 20-kilogram thermite-enhanced warhead. Thermite, a compound of aluminum powder and iron oxide, burns at 2,500 degrees Celsius, a temperature sufficient to melt and penetrate the column's steel wall in seconds.
The breach led to a massive and instantaneous release of superheated, highly pressurized liquid natural gas, LNG, and condensate, which immediately vaporized. This was the precursor to a boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion, BLEVE, followed by the ignition of the facility's inadvertently vented cloud of methane and ethane. The resulting fuel-air explosion and cascading vessel failures consumed the core of the $2 billion complex. This entire sequence of events underscored a critical strategic reality. The most significant lesson is not the performance of any single system, but the overwhelming challenge posed by asymmetric saturation. When low RCS autonomous platforms are deployed en masse, they force an adversary to expend high-cost interceptors against low-cost targets, fundamentally altering the economics of air defense. Modern security now relies not just on superior hardware, but on the capacity for procedural adaptation and the mastery of a complex, multi-domain environment. The future of conflict will be defined by the relentless pursuit of vulnerability, a dance between exquisite technology and calculated economy.